I feel like there is the created in Nashville kind of career. And I feel like we go out and we play a lot of shows for a long time career.
Yeah.
Not that these people don't, but a lot of times these shows come out of record deals, that come out of singles, that come out of support versus just
Building
240 dates in a year.
Exactly.
Which I read about you.
Yeah.
And I want to hear your side. And this is like the artist side of digging it out of so-and-so, the clubs.
Yeah, there's building something foundational, and then there's trendy following. And both of them can lead to success. Following trends, we've seen it. We're watching it now. TikTok is a trend. We're watching success, like massive success come out of that. But what I'm building's trend proof. What I'm building is foundational. What I'm building, I started building when MySpace was popular. That faded. Then it was Facebook. Then it was Instagram. Then it was TikTok. My thing has been growing. I don't need, like, whatever social media platform, great. I'll use it to promote the shows. But I'm not basing my entire career off of clicks and likes. I'm basing my entire career. Who's going to pay $40 to see me once a year when I roll through their town? That's what I want. I don't need the streams. I don't need that. I need people buying physical copies of the record from the label that I own, that I put out my music on. So like, I just have a different way of going about it. Like, I think every kid wants the same thing. How do I not work a straight job? How do I play music for a living and not have to work a 9 to 5? We just have very different ways of getting there. I'm playing the long game. 20 years into my career, I own 100% of my publishing. I own 100% of the masters of my records. There's not many people that can say that 20 years into their career. Every decision I get to make about my career. I've never taken a shortcut. And yes, it's taken 20 years to get to a point that some people reach in 5, but they can't say the previous thing I just said. They had to take that shortcut. They had to give up ownership. They had to give up creative control. And why not put in the extra work and own it at the end of the day?
Yeah, I had a conversation with someone recently who's starting a label.
Yeah.
Who said, quote unquote, you don't need a label. And she was like, it's funny that I'm saying that, but these days you don't.
Yeah.
And that was her opinion. And what you said, I want to back up a little bit for people listening that don't understand the importance of owning your songs or masters or publishing. Can you kind of talk about how that plays out in terms of a real world scenario?
So when a record label signs you, let's say a big record label signs you, they're going to want at least half your publishing. And they're going to want to own 100% of your masters. So you hear of these bands signing to RCA, Columbia, Universal, Sony. These labels are basically buying your record in perpetuity. And that's the first word I teach young artists is the word perpetuity means forever. Mm-hmm. It means you're never getting that record back. It means you're never getting that piece of art that you created back. Someone is buying it forever. So if they buy it and all of a sudden a single has 100 million streams, they own that forever. You're never going to get that back. You're never going to hand that down to your kids. Sony, Columbia, insert monolithic record label here, owns that forever. Publishing is just that. Publishing is the money that you make off of your song being used in places, whether it be the radio, whether it be a licensing deal, whether it be YouTube, anything where your money is, anything where your records are making money outside of selling physical copies of your records is going to be your publishing. And the label wants half of that, at least. Some people, they can talk into give them 60, 70, 80% of it. If you're dumb enough, you'll sign anything to be on Columbia Records. You'll sign anything to be on Universal Records. And
so where did you get the tenacity to say, I'm going to just build this and play the long game? Because I have to imagine that at a point when you were younger, the younger you may have considered, man, like a label record deal.
That's all I wanted.
Yeah, that's all we ever wanted as musician kids growing up. It's like, I want to be a rock star, famous.
Well, we're taught, I was born in the mid 80s. So when I started playing music, it was like late 90s, early 2000s. The dawn of the digital age was right there. We were getting ready to go full-blown digital age. Of course, up until that point, the only way you got your music to people's ears was signing to a record label. That was the leverage they had. They owned the machine that you had to go through to get to the radio, to get to MTV or VH1. They owned every apparatus to make you famous.
The ultimate gatekeeper.
Yeah, they were the ultimate gatekeeper. Think about it. Like, they would go out and sign hundreds of bands and one or two of them would get famous. And they would just shelf the rest of them. They got to do whatever they wanted to. But the minute that random kids got to make records in their bedroom and put them up on the internet for free, changed the game. It completely took away the gatekeeping aspect. It gave you the audience that the radio gave you, terrestrial radio gave you, or MTV gave you. It gave it to everybody. It's right at your fingertips. All somebody had to do was go and look for it. And so when we started coming up, I was raised on the mindset, I got to be on a label. That's the only way we're ever going to make it out of this town is if I get signed to a label. And after the first couple records came out and nobody really came courting too hard, that's when I was like, okay, I can't wait for somebody to come make this happen for me. I have to go out and take it. And that's when we started touring, and that's when we started building the reputation of being like the road dog. And by the time labels started coming and courting me, I'd already seen, behind the curtain. I already seen how Oz worked. I was like, oh, I don't need that guy. That's just a normal human being who's making money off of me. Why don't I just keep hustling and just keep the money for myself? And so I'd say probably 3 or 4 records in is when we started having dinners with record labels and politely telling them no thanks. It's like, would
you have signed if the terms were what you wanted?
Maybe, but nobody's willing to give me that. Nobody's willing to let me keep my records forever.
Yeah.
Nobody's willing to let me keep my publishing. Nobody's willing to let me have complete artistic control over the final product. When I say artistic control, I'm not just talking about the songs. Like, I write all the songs, but I also approve all the artwork. I also approve the vinyl color. I approve every aspect of my business. And some people would call that micromanaging, but when it comes to my art, I want it to be a representation of me as a person. And why would I let anybody wearing a suit make that decision when I'm the one out there having to sell it, when I'm the one out there touring, when I'm the one creating the art in the first place? Why would you ever give some suit in Nashville or New York or LA the authority to tell you, no, we don't think that's going to sell as well as this? I like being able to wake up every morning to make the decisions for my business that I think are best, because hell, I'm the guy writing the songs. I'm the guy singing the songs. I'm the guy running the Instagram. Why wouldn't I be able to make the decisions for my career instead of letting some guy who knows nothing about me other than I might be able to make him a little bit of money? Why would I let him make that decision?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense, man. And I think that train of thought is, I think we live in a culture that doesn't like to, we want immediate gratification, satisfaction.
For sure.
Right? And so when you drop a number like you started your band in 2006, some people listening to this may have not even been born yet.
Facts.
And, and it's like, that is daunting. That's that's my whole lifetime up till now and then. So it's scary, I think, for people to play the long game like you have. But I'm also interested in talking about the fruit that it's produced, because I think it's so like you said, foundational to building something. The Bible talks about building your house on a rock instead of on sand, and using that metaphor. That's how you've done your career.
100%.
And so in saying that, not only do you have the ownership, what does it look like in terms of the fans that you have now? And how have you gone from maybe playing for 10 people to being able to sell out clubs? Like, you're playing in Nashville tonight, it's sold out. How has that happened?
So you have to be realistic when you are undertaking, and it's a big undertaking, when you're saying, I'm going to control every aspect of my career. I'm not going to take shortcuts. I'm not going to give anybody else ownership. What you're signing up for is probably 8 to 12 years of utter poverty. It's just like any other small business. Everybody else gets paid before you get paid. When you're building a mom and pop shop, you build it from the ground up. You shake every hand that comes in. You give them your word that if anything goes wrong with this product I sold you, you can come back here and I'll make it right. That's the joy of buying from the mom and pop, is being on a first name basis with them. Being able to walk in, they recognize your face, they know your order. That's the fun part about mom and pop. That's the same mentality you bring to starting a band, a grassroots band. Every single night, I'm at that merch table. As soon as I walk off stage, sweaty mess, I walk right over to the merch table and I get in line and I start shaking hands. And I did it out of necessity in 2006. Because in 2006, there was only 5 people in that crowd. And I needed to sell all 5 of them at least one CD to get gas money to go to the next place. So it's shaking hands, introducing myself. My name's BJ Barham. We're American Aquarium. Thank you for coming out tonight. I don't know why you're here, but I hope to see you next time. Maybe bring a friend next time. We can double this. We can turn 5 into 10, and then 10 turns to 20, 20 to 40, 40 to 80. That's the hard part. Once you start turning 200 to 400, 400 to 800, 800 to 1600, that's easy. Hard part is those first couple shows where you're shaking hands and nobody cares about you. Nobody knows who you are. That's when it's important to start remembering those people's names, getting their contact information, shaking their hand, reminding them next time you're coming back to town, hey, we're going to be coming back to town. This time it's not a Tuesday, it's a Thursday. Maybe you can get a couple more of your friends out. Come on out and see us. And fast forward to 20 years later, last night I was in Indianapolis. There was 500 kids there. I stood in line for an hour and a half after the show. After I just give them 2 hours of blood and sweat on stage, I walked right out with a water bottle, and I sat there for an hour and a half, and I signed stuff. I took pictures. I shook hands. And there's people that saw me the very first time I played in Indy 15, 16 years ago who were in that same line, and I shook their hand the same way I did 16 years ago. And that means something to people. That's my money back guarantee. That's my thank you for coming and shopping local. Thank you for shopping small. You have a lot of options out there. You can get on TikTok, you can get on Facebook, and there's major labels throwing major money behind fads. Kids that aren't going to be here in 5 years, kids that aren't going to be here in 10 years. You chose the mom and pop over the big box. And I'm there to remind them every single night that there's a person behind the songs they love. I'm not just an algorithm. I'm not just something that is trying to tweak to their taste. I'm a creator of something. And I'm there to tell them, thank you for buying my, it's just like a coffee. You picked me up from a coffee shop this morning. Same thing. It's an amazing thing when you go to buy a cup of coffee and the guy who roasted the beans is selling you the coffee. And he can tell you, he's like, oh man, we just got this in from Ecuador. It's been sitting back there for 2 weeks roasting. He's like, this is going to be a really great cup of coffee. Instead of just going to Starbucks and then being like, here's whatever you ordered with a lot of sugar and a lot of milk in it. Hope you enjoyed it. If not, screw you. You know, that guy needs your business. Same way I need your business. And so you're not going to see the big dogs of the world going out to the merch table and shaking hands every night because they don't have to. Bands like us, it is necessary for us to become one-on-one with our fans. And some people are afraid of that. Some people they have social anxiety. Some people, I know so many lead singers who their biggest fear is talking to people after the show. Screw that. I want to get on the bus and go to the next place. Get me away. I want to go out in that sea of people. I want people to tell me how my songs have affected their lives. That's the biggest payoff for me. The shows are fun. Not working a straight gig's fun. But hearing that this song that I wrote in my darkest moment helped somebody else through that same dark moment. Whew, that's the power, man. That's the good. That's why we do it. Is I was vulnerable enough in one of my darkest corners to write about something, and it helped somebody else get through the same thing. They couldn't put words to it, but because I put words to it, they're like, that song you wrote about losing somebody helped. That song you wrote about suicide or drug overdose or miscarriages, that helped me through the same exact thing. Why wouldn't you want to stand in line and hear that story from that person and shake their hand and tell them thank you and hopefully you see them next time? It's lost on me that artists, it's simple. Like, I'm not redefining the wheel here. I'm not making up this new business strategy. It's been around since commerce started. It's shaking people and thanking them for shopping at your spot.
Yeah.
And that's all being in an independent band is making sure you're the store clerk that stays a little bit after hours to make sure that people have what they need. And sometimes that's a picture. Sometimes that's making a video for a friend who's in the hospital fighting something that really believes in your music. Sometimes it's just signing an autograph on a vinyl. But man, that extra hour and a half after a show every night where you're standing there and putting in the FaceTime with the people that are allowing you not to work a straight job, that's the easiest part of my day, man.
Yeah. It's the connection.
Connection, that's the word.
That's what people want is connection. I think that even the signed touring acts that don't have to do that obviously at times opt out, had they done that, or if they did that, it would probably prolong their careers significantly, even outside of maybe them losing a deal, because they would have an actual fan base that has a relationship with them like you're talking about. Versus just seeing someone on stage that's on the radio.
It goes back to our foundational conversation.
Yeah, totally.
You know, when you're out there laying the bricks every night, making sure that no matter what storm comes, this house ain't going nowhere. Some people think that record deal is going to last forever. Some people are naive enough to, at 20, to be like, man, I got signed to a 3-album deal on one of the biggest labels in the world. Nothing could ever happen. And the minute that you deliver something that is not commercially viable, the minute that you have one misstep in your personal and or professional life, you are cut loose and set out into the world as an outcast. Getting cut from a label just doesn't mean getting cut from a label. You also get a little tiny thing around you that says failure.
And the whole industry.
And the whole industry comes up and says, oh, you were signed to a major label. Why'd they let you go? Oh, the second record didn't do as good as the first record. Oh, you had a sloppy PR thing. Yeah. All of a sudden you have this label on you.
Yeah.
Don't touch that. That doesn't work. And if you don't go through and you don't put in that legwork to getting to know the people that really love your music, when that rug gets pulled out from under you, you're lost.
Yeah.
I've watched so many massive artists 5 years after they get dropped from their label, they're not playing music anymore. They're not doing much anymore. But then you watch the people that really cared about the fans, whether it's major label or indie bands. If you put the time in to care about your fans, they will be there to catch you at the worst moments of your career. When nobody else gives a shit what you're doing, they're going to be the ones about, oh, dude, we got you. Last 10 years, 15, 20 years, you've been there for us. We're here for you. And I wish more artists understood that you only get 15 minutes up top. You know, what are you going to do with the rest of it?
So in terms of your music, man, I had it playing last night. We had our family over for dinner, and I just put on the record that I think it's your latest record, but it was out in 2020.
The Lamentations was 2020, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was playing.
Yeah.
But the music to me is almost where country music has gone a little bit. Like, I feel like you've kind of you have a sound, right?
Yeah.
You've kind of like stayed rootsy, Americana almost, or whatever.
I think today it will be called Americana.
Yeah, but to me, it's like I grew up on the Laurel Canyon music.
Yeah.
And love the Eagles are my favorite band.
Jackson Brown's one of my favorites.
Yeah. So, Jackson Brown, dude, Crosby, Stills and Nash, and Fleetwood Mac, and all of them. And when I listen to your music, it kind of has a vibe to me of what I love, and it's just really cool. I'm stoked to see you tonight. And,
heck yeah.
And I'm just curious, like, do you see an uptick in listenership or anything like that because of where the country genre has kind of gone or expanded?
It's definitely made it a lot, because when we first started in 2006, we didn't sound like anything on the radio. We've always sounded like this. We are the confluence of rock and roll and country music. It's where that
and that's what the Eagles wanted to be.
It's where that thing meets. It's where like you have this like, I want to be loud and I want there to be big guitars. I want there to be like 3-part harmonies, but I also want there to be acoustic guitars and pedal steel guitars.
Dude.
And so, you know, you can't, I grew up, if I'd have stuck around town, I'd have been a 7th generation tobacco farmer. I'm a redneck. Country music, whether or not I want to admit it or not, it's inside of me. I was raised on it. I ran from it all through my teenage years, but it is foundational to who I am as a person. the teenage version of me loved rock and roll. I loved loud. I loved aggressive. I loved protest. So when those two things hit head on, it creates something cool. And I don't care if you call it alt country or alternative or Americana, whatever they're calling it. It's just where country music meets rock and roll. It's that.
To me, I would call it country.
Yeah.
I think most people call Americana, but I would say country music. What is it? Like everybody's country's a little different.
Yeah.
And it's from you to the 90s style stuff to the hip hop stuff. It's such a wide genre now.
Yeah. I
would just say you're a country rock and roll band.
Yeah.
That's what it, and I mean, you listen to the early Eagles records and there was a lot of tension in the band between wanting to be a country band and a rock band.
Yeah.
But they produced country rock music.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
Which is a really neat thing.
And I think that's what draws me to just like listening to your stuff and the productions and the fact that I'm imagining you use 0 tracks in your live show. I could be wrong.
We don't do tracks.
But you're a live band that plays live that just does it in the way that, back to my 70s references, that's how those artists got big.
Yeah.
It wasn't social media, you know? It was out on the road.
It used to be you had to be a good band to be popular. Every record you hear from us, there's no studio magic. It's 6 guys getting in a big old room and putting microphones on things and playing it until it sounds right. Who would have thought that if you do that to make the record, when you take it on the road, it's going to sound exactly like the record because the same 6 guys are standing in a room playing it together. That's the thing that like, and I'm not knocking anybody. I used to, when I was a younger man, I used to knock the pop country stuff. It has a time and place. There's a reason 40,000 people every Friday or Saturday night fill into whatever the local shed is and watch, insert artist name here, sing their 10 number 1 hits. It serves a purpose. It's not how I want to build my career. It's not what I want. And I'm so thankful for artists like Chris Stapleton. I'm so thankful for artists like Sturgill Simpson and Tyler Childers and Jason Isbell who have infiltrated pop culture. Mm-hmm. You know, the Brandi Carlisles of the world, you know, coming in and taking this monolithic country ecosystem and carving out their own little corner of it. Being like, nope, I'm still over here. I write my own songs. We have a live band. We play our own music. And now that that's starting to get really popular.
It is. That's where I'm like, you're right there. It only
helps bands like us.
You're right there.
Like rising tides raise all ships.
Yeah.
And so now that is becoming more mainstream. Like the fact that like Sierra Farrell is playing shows like Post Malone, like that's good for bands like me. I don't care what you think about the pop world. When they're dipping in and they're pulling people that are my friends are getting national exposure on either national radio or national television, that's a good thing for any artist out there plugging away and doing their own thing. And so I think now is people made fun of me in 2006. Like, why are you starting like a punk country band? And I was like, it's kind of what we all like. This is like what we do. Fast forward 20 years later, everything comes in circles. Everything comes in cycles. And now it's becoming really popular. And it's lucky because we've been doing this now for 20 years. So we're kind of the old heads that, you know, a lot of these young artists, they'll tell you, they're like, oh, American Aquarium is one of our influences. And that's weird because I don't feel like somebody old enough to be anybody's influence. But then you look, you're like, man, I've been doing this for 20 years. There's probably a whole generation of kids that sat in the back seat while their parents listened to my records and they grew up on this stuff. And now they're making their own music and it's their own form, their own bastardization of country music. Yeah. And I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. On the business side, man, you had to go from being the kid in the garage with the band to learning the business side. Was there a point in your career that you can pinpoint where you were like, oh, I really need to understand business better because this thing that I am running is a business? And you had referenced so far in this conversation quite a bit about the small business, the mom and pop shop, you doing your stuff, you choosing photos, you posting, you meeting people, you selling vinyl. You know, we're talking like buying, margins, all of that, cost, expenses, you know, spreadsheets, maybe. I don't know if you do it all or you have an accountant, but you had to learn the business side. What was that like?
Fascinating. There's some people who start bands and some people who are lead singers, and they hate the business side. All they want to do is create the art. They're the ones that are on the VH1 behind the music. So we're like, my manager took everything. You know, I'm not that guy. The business side fascinated me. Still does. It's why I'm so hands-on on it. Because
what are some of the like nitty gritties? Like for people listening, what are some things that I think are fundamental to business that you would suggest that are like BJ's like 5 fundamental business, BJ's business basics.
Don't take big steps until you have to. Everybody wants the bus, but the bus costs money. Don't move to a bus until you can afford it, no matter what.
Now, did you learn that by going to the bus too early?
No, I learned it by watching friends go to a bus too early. One of the biggest things about business is just keeping your eye on everybody else in your business. Watch how they run their business. Watch what works. Watch what fails. Do what works. Don't do what fails. So I got plenty of friends that went to a bus because they wanted, it's keeping up with the Joneses, man. You don't want to show up to the festival, the big rock festival in a van and trailer. You want to be on the bus. So I watched plenty of friends either lease a bus too early or, God forbid, buy a bus. And then all of a sudden they were house poor. Every show, they could barely afford to be in the thing that got them to the show. So we sat probably for 3 or 4 years. When we had the money to go to a bus, we probably sat for 3 or 4 years and kind of roughed it out in the van just to make sure we were ready for it. That way when we went to the bus, it wasn't like a worry. It wasn't something that kind of loomed over our head. It was just, that's just the cost of doing business. The big thing I teach kids, and I probably do 5 or 6 Zoom calls a month about business, is merchandise. So many bands don't take merchandise seriously. They travel with one shirt, one record, and they think that that's going to sustain their entire business. Merchandise is the most important part of anybody traveling, playing music. Yes, people showing up and paying a ticket price is important. Yes, people streaming your music's important. Selling people t-shirts, physical copies of records, posters, koozies, stickers, hats, that's also very, very important. And a lot of bands don't take it seriously. They're leaving so much on the table. Your fans want to give you money. They do. Every night they tell you, man, I wish there was something else I could do for you. I wish there was something else I could do to help you guys out. If you give them the option, a new shirt every tour, a new record every year, something new at that table every time they come back, they can give you that $5, that $20, that $30, that $50. And that goes a long way, especially when you got 500 people every single night who are diehard. We don't have fair weather fans. We don't have somebody who comes to hear the one song off the radio that they're kind of familiar with. If you're coming to an American Aquarium show, it's how many shows have you been to? I've been to 20. I've been to 25. There's a lady tonight, shout out to Jenny Holcomb, one of our biggest fans. Tonight's her 100th show she's been to in Nashville. She's followed us like the last 6 days. And tonight's her 100th show. You don't do that by not shaking the hands. You don't do that by not taking care of the people. And so when you've got people who have seen you 100 times, you need to be giving them something new every time you come through town. We change the set list every night. Our band can play we have 136 songs out there right now, and we play about a little over 100 of them. So every night that set list is cycling through. You have no idea what it's going to be. Try to keep it new for your fans. Try to keep every show, because we've all seen it. Your big stadium tours have the exact same set list every night. They play it in the same order.
Oh, yeah.
That's just boring for me.
Yeah. And it's all empty time code and the lights and the fire.
And I understand why they have to do it, because you're syncing lights, you're syncing pyro, you're syncing backing tracks, you're syncing everything to make the show the show. I get that.
Yeah.
That's my nightmare, is just the monotony of like, okay, guys, tonight's show number 20. Same thing we did last night. Countdown from 10, and then you go into it. Like, for me, the spontaneity of the show, to where when somebody screams out that one song that they really want to hear, and you're like, you know what, that's not on the set list, but boys, count it off real quick. And you kick into that, makes that person's night. You think that person's missing you the next time you come through town? Nope. They're there forever. It's about turning casual fans into diehard fans. And I think merchandise is a great way to do that. Merchandise is a great way to build your business fiscally.
What do you think about drop shipping versus having inventory?
So I don't do drop shipping. I run my merch store from my house. Still to this day, I do all the fulfillment of my merch store, which is a job in itself. Because when you first start a merch store, you get 10 orders a month, and it's easy to go to the post office once a month and mail off 10 shirts. But we're getting to a point now where like the merchandise side of our business is bigger than the touring side of our business. And so when I'm not home, God bless my wife, she runs the merchandise part of the business from home. But we have 4 storage lockers at our local storage facility, and they're stacked floor to ceiling with inventory. It's all shirts, hats, koozies, vinyl records, and we ship every morning. If I'm home, I wake up every morning, I go to the storage unit, I pull the 40 or 50 orders that we got overnight. I go back, I sit down, I spend about an hour packing them up. My post office ladies love me.
I bet they do.
I show up once a day with a big old package. And anytime we do record fulfillment, so anytime a record comes out, I'm lucky. I own the record label that puts our records out. But every time we have a new record come out, we'll pre-sale 10 to 15,000 copies of these records.
Wow.
So I'm showing up to my post office in a U-Haul truck with 10,000 vinyl mailers. And I always bring them. I know what every one of my ladies drinks at Starbucks. So every time they know they're getting ready to get hit, because I show up with like
I was going to say, you bring them coffee.
I show up with a drink carrier like Starbucks, and they're like, how many are you bringing today? And I was like, 10,000. I was like, I got to go fill this U-Haul truck up like 2 or 3 times. And I back it right up to the post office, and we dump it into the big mail bins. And my little tiny post, shout out to the ladies in Wendell, North Carolina, tiny little rural post office. I'm sure they're setting records for the size of their post office and the volume they're pushing through, but it keeps you connected.
Let's just stop there real quick. You said 10,000 pre-sales.
Yeah.
For a record independently.
Yeah.
That you own.
Yeah.
So let's say it was $10 each that you made, 10,000 pre-sales.
Yeah.
That's $100,000 right there.
Yeah.
Just by owning your own music and selling 10,000 CDs.
But think about the work that goes into.
Yeah. But I mean, just like to give a perspective on the importance of merchandise for people out there, like you might think, because I've thought about this before, and I think a lot of people have. I've even thought about it for the podcast, like merchandise and all that. And I think it's a little daunting at times, but it's one of those things that I think is also just like your career has been an upward trajectory instead of a spike and then a fall.
Yeah,
that's what you want, And so your
slow
merchandise, merchandise is probably slow growth up as well in terms of your revenue generation. And I'm not knocking that. I just want to point out that number for people because you might not think about it, and I don't know what your margins are on vinyl. I know vinyl is expensive, but
$10.30 a unit.
$10. Okay,
you sell it for $30.
Yeah.
So you're making $19.70 on every unit you sell.
Oh, okay.
And then multiply that by 10,000.
Yeah. So $200,000.
So, yeah. But then you have to go back and look at what a studio costs for a day.
Oh, yeah.
And then you look what your producer costs for the day.
But that's just one thing is album versus the shirt, and margins are great on shirts.
100%. Shirts I can get for $8.50, $9 a pop.
Selling for $30.
Yeah, what's $25, $30?
$25, $30.
Hats are $11 to $12 a piece, depending on if they're embroidered, if they're patched. It's the stuff that I never thought I'd have to get into when I picked up a guitar and started writing songs. I never thought I would be as dialed in on types of shirts and materials.
Do you enjoy it?
I love it. Love it. It is daunting. It is overwhelming. But it is just another way to stay connected to your fans. When they tell you, it's like, hey, we're tired of the poly blend shirts. Can you get some comfort colors in here? Can you get some cotton shirts in here? Can you get, and listening to your fans and then watching the trend go from like buying the thin, poly thread shirts to
Yeah, the like $4 shirt.
Yeah. And then you're going into like really nicer shirts, and people are paying attention to that, or like, you know, certain kind of hats, or anytime you're listening to your fan base, because they'll tell you, I like this, I don't like this. Just listening to them has helped us get to a point where every time we put merchandise out, and it has to be, you have to put out good merchandise.
Yeah. So how do you figure that part out? That's what I'm curious about.
I've got a company in Roanoke, Virginia. Shout out to Press Merchandise. I've been with them now for almost a decade, and they do all of my design where I'll call them or I'll text them at like 2:00 in the morning. I'm like, I get this crazy idea for a shirt. Can you send me like some mock-ups? And a couple days later, their artist will send me a mock-up, and it'll be either exactly what was in my head or close, and we'll kind of work it to where it gets to the point, and then it's ready to print. And so I'm like, I'll take 1,000 of those shirts, and then you stock up your storage unit at home, and then you put it up online, and you quickly learn what the fan base likes. So like you'll see it tonight. You'll see our merch set up tonight. We travel with 15 to 20 shirts, 10 hats, 10 koozies, 20 stickers.
That's designs, 15 to 20 designs.
Yeah, different designs. We've got 17 records that we've put out over the last 20 years. We have all 17 of those on vinyl and CD. We travel with all that stuff. So when you come up to the merch, it looks like a flea market. When you come up to our merch table, it's not just a shirt and a CD. You're coming up to a store. And my job as a salesman at that store, I don't need to sell you 20 shirts. I need to sell you one. So our designs are all over the place. Our designs are, there's a dad shirt, there's a punk rock kid shirt, there's a frat boy shirt, there's a cowboy shirt, there's a couple designs for women, there's a couple designs for casual, like it's just the band name. Very simple designs all the way up to very complex designs. And
what have you had the most success with in terms of someone, let's say they're a smaller band listening to this and they're like, there's no way we can do 15 shirts right now.
Simple.
What do we do?
Keep it simple. The most simple design is the one that sells the most. One of our top shirts for the last, I think we've had it for 7 years now. We call it the gym class shirt. It just says American Aquarium, Raleigh, North Carolina. Simple font, nothing fancy. We've changed the color a few times, but it's literally just the band's name, where we're from. We can't keep it in stock. Simplicity. It doesn't need to be the craziest shirt in the world, because you got to think the craziest shirt in the world only has a certain amount of people that are going to want to wear that shirt.
It's niche.
It's niche. I'm trying to sell shirts to 75-year-old people at the same show I'm trying to sell shirts to 18-year-old kids. It's about finding where does all of this come together? What's the simplest thing I can sell to anybody? What shirt would my dad wear and my girlfriend wear?
Yeah. Like a unisex.
Find that. When you start finding that, that's your center. And that's where you need to start really focusing your merch. And then you can start getting weird. Like we have metal shirts, and we have like a Marlboro ripoff that we can't keep in stock because every time we go to Texas or Oklahoma, you know, it's like the bucking Bronco with the cowboy on the back of it. And it looks like a Marlboro shirt, but can't keep that in stock. And it's about getting off in your niches, but always come back to that center. Have 2 or 3 shirts that you could sell to anybody. Doesn't matter their age, their sex, what they believe in. They'd buy that shirt from you. And that's what I always tell young bands is like, don't get too crazy too quick. Keep it simple at first. Find out what your niches are, and then start shopping each shirt to those specific niches.
Cool, man.
And then over the course of 20 years, you got a pretty clear idea of what's going to sell, what's not going to sell, and try to keep your what's going to sell more than your what's not going to sell.
Yeah, for sure, dude. I'm curious what it's like playing Red Rocks.
It's the craziest thing I've ever done in my life. Before I played Red Rocks, I didn't have an answer to the question, what's your favorite place you've ever played? I played a lot of cool places. I've headlined the Ryman twice. I've done the Grand Ole Opry. I've done Bowery Ballroom. I've done the Troubadour in LA, speaking of the Eagles and Jackson Brown.
History.
I've done Green Hall. I've done Kane's Ballroom. I've done some of the most legendary rooms in the country. Nothing prepares you for Red Rocks. Right before you walk on stage, they say, whatever you do, don't look up. I didn't know what that meant. Because every show, I've played big shows, played 10, 15,000 people. The crowd is linear. It goes straight back. At Red Rocks, go straight up. And nothing prepares you for walking out. Because the first thing I did after they told me not to look up was look up.
Yeah, that's the what. Like you tell someone not to do something,
yeah,
they're going to do.
I walked right out on stage, and the first thing I did was look up. And Red Rocks is built so you can't see where the people end. It looks like they're just going up into the sky.
A wall.
Wall of people just going up into the sky. And it was transcendent, man. We were, don't get me wrong, we were the one of 3 on that show. And we were so glad because so many of our fans showed up. Like the one of 3, a lot of people were usually sitting down. This show, the people at Red Rocks told us like we've never seen this many people like up and like singing along to like the opener. It felt our fans traveled really hard for that show, and it was high energy. It was 45 minutes of just like all gas, no brakes, and it was. We walked off that stage. We did what we were supposed to do. It was us, the Red Clay Strays, and Turnpike Troubadours.
Wow!
And we walked off that stage knowing that like we put up as good a fight as anybody was going to put up that night. And the fans were great. And some buddies of mine were out seeing Eric Church last week at Red Rocks. And every year they put up a giant sign for everybody that played. You can walk through basically that's like the visitor center. And it'll show you 2022, 2023. For 2024, our name's up there.
Oh, that's awesome.
And that's and somebody sent me a picture of it. And I was like, man, that's if it all ends today, my name stays up there forever.
Is that the most surreal moment of your career?
One of them. That's playing the first time I got to headline the Ryman was also up there.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the show that got me. It wasn't the show that choked me up. It was soundcheck.
Really?
It was walking out on that stage with nobody there. Just just ghost of who's been there before you. And it's walking out, like the band's not even out there. It's just me walking out there to set my guitar up. And they've got a couple lights coming down and, the sunlight's coming through the stained glass. The show is the show. I've played almost 4,000 shows. Shows are the show. Walking out on that stage at like 5 o'clock in the afternoon, nobody else out there and just like soaking it in. And like the fog is just already, the dust, you can see dust particles in the light. That was special because you're standing there and you're like, everybody that has ever mattered in country music has stood on the stage. And now I get to stand on the stage, not opening. I get to, this is my show. And I think the only thing that beat that feeling was the second time, because then it wasn't a fluke. We got invited back to do it again. And there's something magical about just taking 30 seconds, a minute, and thinking about who's been there before you have. The same thing, our Opry debut, same thing. The Opry, the new Opry is just this kind of big complex, and you can tell it's very commercialized.
Oh, yeah.
But the minute you walk into that circle, it was the sound check for me. It wasn't them introducing me in front of
that old wood circle.
It's that wood circle, and it's that just walking out to like my dad was with me. My dad flew in for the show.
Oh.
And this is 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the afternoon. My dad walked out there with me, and my dad was standing right beside me when I took my step into it for the first time. I still get chicken skin thinking about it, man. It's those are the moments of your career where like all of the blood, sweat, and tears are worth it. I always tell people, if it ends today, if it never gets any bigger than this, and that's all I did, that's more than 1% of 1% ever did. That's the thing you have to remind yourself when you're standing on stage at Red Rocks, when you're standing on stage at the Ryman. Less than 1% of people that ever pick up a guitar and write a song or start a band ever get to stand in that spot. It'll humble you, man. It'll make you appreciate so much more because you're just like, we live in such a comparative culture where all we want is the next thing. All we want is what's bigger. All we want is the bigger rooms, the bigger crowds, more money, more fame. And so many times it's important when you hit those milestones. And Red Rocks is definitely a milestone. It's so important to hit those milestones and just take a deep breath and say, you know what? This is cool. Like if it never gets any bigger than this, like I'm standing on stage at Red Rocks. I'm standing on stage at the Ryman. I'm playing the Grand Ole Opry. Those moments, man.
They're validating.
100%.
That's, I think, a probably a huge part of it. It's like we all have these negative inner core beliefs of self-doubt. Like, am I good enough? You know? So when you get the opportunity to do that, especially the second time, and you're like, okay, this wasn't a fluke.
Yeah. It shuts that imposter syndrome up real quick.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It shuts it up. It lights a different kind of fire under you when the stuff that you dreamed of as a kid starts actually happening. It makes you be like, well, I need to try it. I need to push it. Like I need to stay the course because obviously what I'm doing is working because it's got me here. Just stick to it. Stick to your roots. Stick to your guns and keep doing it. And man, it's taken me 20 years, but like everything, it's way past what I dreamed of. When I started this band, I just wanted to like headline my local rock club and like sell it out and like get a free bar tab on a Friday, you know? And now it's turned into this like, I don't know, it's my career, but it's also like every day I'm just thankful that I get to go to a different town every day and play songs that I wrote in front of people that care. That's a validating thing, man.
How do you stifle comparison?
You got to try to tune it out. You got to try because like I'm not better than anybody. Like I'm still guilty of it. Like I get on Instagram and you're constantly being compared to something. You're constantly seeing somebody that you don't think is as good as you getting more opportunities than you. You're constantly seeing people get added to the festival that you've always wanted to play and you didn't get the invite. Younger me used to take that very personal. And it built such a gross spot inside of me to where I'd get online and I'd see friends, people that I really love, get opportunities, and I started feeling animosity toward those people. I started, the darker side of my brain started saying, why did they get that and I didn't? Why did they get to open for one of my heroes and I don't? Why did they get to go on tour with the big band and I don't? And finally, I just, it got so exhausting waking up and comparing. Like, this is art. I love what I do. I love creating things. It took the fun out of it. So I just stopped focusing on it. I'd wake up and I'd look at the new whatever festival lineup and I'm like, good for those guys. That'll be awesome. That'll be a great. But what I have to tell myself is like, do I want to be given a spot on that festival and play in front of 30,000 people that maybe nobody gives a shit about what I'm doing? Or do I want to keep going out here and building it brick by brick? Because at the end of the day, look at a festival from 10 years ago. Look at the Bonnaroo lineup from 10 years ago. I'd say 30% of those bands aren't bands anymore. Look at a festival from 5 years ago. 20% of those bands aren't bands anymore. They were given that big opportunity and it didn't matter. It didn't change their career. The one thing I can focus on is every year I'm going to go out and play 100 shows around this country. And I'm going to keep serving people songs every single day. That's the one thing I can control. I can't control what some promoter thinks about me. I can't control of what tastemaker says about me. The thing I control is, do I write good songs? Do I take them to the people every year? And am I good to the people that support me? If I do those three things every single year, if I write good songs, if I tour those good songs, and I make sure the people that listen to those songs are taken care of, all that will fall into place. And we've seen it. I used to dream about playing Stagecoach. I was like, man, that looks so awesome. Like, it's the confluence of everything I want. It's the rock and the country where it meets. Like, this is amazing. And then I stopped caring. I stopped pushing. I stopped really trying. And then like 2 years later, we got to play Stagecoach. And it was awesome. And my friends were there and it was super, but it didn't change my career. Like playing the big festival, I got to play like a really great stage at Stagecoach. It didn't change my career. It was very cool. I got to meet Sammy Kershaw backstage. That was awesome. But it didn't like change too much about my life. And when you realize that the club shows are far more important than the big festival shows, that's when you stop caring as much about the comparative aspect of this business.
That's an interesting way to put it, because the Stagecoach, the big stage, what everybody wants is more of a vanity metric than a fan metric in a sense.
It's a feather in your cap.
That's a feather in your cap. It probably is awesome. It looks cool in pictures, but it's not like you get off the stage and you have 30,000 new followers.
Exactly. It doesn't happen that way.
It doesn't. And
so many people, and it's, and I'm not just saying that as the guy who doesn't get all the feathers in the caps. I'm just able to call it what it is, because the feathers that I do have in my cap, they didn't change my career. What changed my career was those 3 things I listed earlier. Write good songs, tour those good songs, and take care of the people that support the songs.
Yeah.
That's all you got to do.
So how has it been navigating your career when it comes to you as, because it really could have been your name with a band.
Yeah.
Why did you choose to go with a band name, number one? And number two, how is it when, like you said, you are the person that likes complete creative control?
Yeah.
A micromanager. I'm that way with art. I do because I care deeply about it and I have a vision for it. You're that way. I think artists are that way. How do you balance that, and how do you figure that out with a group of guys when you're in a band, but it's also kind of like the equivalent of Eric Church having a band with him where they play for Eric, but they don't own the masters. You own the masters.
Yeah. I like the idea of collaboration. I've always loved the collaborative process. I love getting in a room with people that are far more talented than me and creating something. I write the songs. I write all the songs and I sing the songs. And there was probably a moment where I thought about doing like BJ Barham, but I always like the idea of a band. That's my favorite stuff. That's the stuff that I don't gravitate towards solo artists all too often. I gravitate toward bands. And early on, maybe it was, subconsciously, maybe it was like I took some of the pressure off myself, because when you have it a band, when it's not your name on the marquee, if you suck, nobody gets to make fun of you as a person. But we started American Aquarium in college. It was me and like 5 friends. And we had no bigger aspirations than, like I said, to get a bar tab on a Friday night and, play in front of our friends. And then after probably 6 months, shows started selling out. And it was people that we didn't know showing up to the shows. It wasn't our friends. It wasn't our family. It was like people that knew the words. And that's when it started clicking, like maybe we can go to like the next town over and try this and see if it works. And then it was like, let's go to another state. And it's like, well, let's just do like the Southeast and see if it works. And by that point, you already got the band name in place. You've already got a record out and you can't really go back and change it. But
are there power struggles within that? Or is it about finding the right people to create a culture where they get what you're doing and respect it and they're cool just playing their part?
It's about taking care of people to the point where, like, all of my guys make a living playing in this band. We play 70 shows a year now, and they make a living playing in this band. Early on, I think it's about buying into the culture. I think it's about buying into, we're not making any money, but we believe in the thing that we're doing. Now I think all these guys really believe in what we're doing. Like my band, I've had the same band now for almost 8 years. Everybody believes in what we're doing. Everybody truly sees the big picture of what we're doing, but it's also like, it's their job. Like they get paid to be here. And you have to walk that. It's a weird balance to walk between being the boss and the front man. You know what I mean? Because like when I'm the front man, I'm one of 6. My voice is, I trust these guys. They wouldn't still be here if I didn't trust them. So it's really fun for me when we're in the studio, when we're creating this thing, I'm bringing them these skeletal versions of songs. They're folk songs. They're 3 chords in the truth songs. And it's fun to be able to trust your friends to start throwing the meat on it and making them big and making them these big kind of rock songs. That's fun for me. Yes, at the end of the day, I would have control to say no. But like, why would I do that if 5 of the people that I trust the most in this world are saying, I think this is a good idea? I can put my ego on hold enough to be like, you know what, let's try that. Because if it's going through 6 different filters, So plus a producer, plus an engineer. It's 8 people that it has to go through in the studio. If 8 people say it's a good idea, that's enough for me. When it's going through 8 different people to filter out, by the time you get to the bottom, that's clean water. I don't care what you say. If it can make it through 8 completely different human beings and every single person's like, man, that's good. Who cares what I have to say? I trust these guys.
Yeah.
They're the ones I'm in the bus with. They're the ones I'm playing these songs with every night. It's still the words I wrote. If they're saying this is how they should be presented, I've gotten to the point where I trust them. Early me probably couldn't have done that.
That's fun, though. There's a relief there, man. Because it can be, as you said the word earlier, exhausting when you're the one that has to make all of the decisions.
Yeah.
So that collaborative process is really cool, I feel like.
Young me hated it. Young me was like, no, this is how the song's supposed to be. This is how, and there's a reason I lost a lot of band members probably. It's because I wasn't open to the idea of collaboration. I wasn't open to the idea of, you know what, maybe my way is not the best way. And for the last 8 years, and I told him this a couple of days ago, this band has made me really fall back in love with like recording. Because when you get in there, when you get in the studio and you've got people just throwing stuff against the wall, because there's a trust there, like nobody's going to be judged. There's no bad idea. Our rule in the studio is best idea wins. And you have to try everybody's idea. If anybody throws out anything, you have to try it. You can't just say, no, that's stupid. You have to try it and either prove that it's stupid or try it and be like, oh man, that actually kind of works. And you can't say no to anybody. If somebody comes up with a bad idea, bring a better idea to the table that beats it. Best song wins. Best idea wins. And that's a fun game because like if you can't say no to somebody and you're forced to look within and come up with a better idea that makes that look bad, then everybody's just trying to put out the best possible thing. So after 10 days in the studio, you've got the best possible thing that group of human beings is going to create. And it's a really fun way to make records.
Yeah, I love that. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people are doing it that way. And Dave Cobb does that on his records with the live tracking. And
yeah.
I know he's produced Sturgill and
yeah, so we work with Shooter Jennings
cool.
out in Los Angeles, and we're getting ready to go back in the studio in November with him. And he's done all the most recent like Charlie Crockett, Turnpike stuff.
He gets it.
He gets it, man. And he's kind of the one that taught us that in 2020, that record you were listening to last night, that Lamentations record. That was the first record we did with Shooter, and that's where he really taught us how to be a band in the studio. Trust each other. You trust each other the 70 days a year you're on the stage with each other. You don't need to trust each other for these 10 days you're in the studio. And once we realized that all we wanted, nobody wanted to be right. Nobody wanted to win an argument. Once we realized that everybody in that room just wanted the best version of the song, that's when it was like a light bulb went off. And it's like, if we're all working every day, like hustling to try to just get the best version of the song, what we walk out of here in 10 days is going to be pretty darn good, you know?
Yeah, I love it. I love that, man. Last couple things, man. How has being married and being a dad impacted you in touring and life?
Balance. Taught me what balance was. Young me, I was so career driven. I was, there were years where we played over 300 shows a year. 2011, 12, and 13. We played 307, 304, and 306. I wasn't married. I didn't have kids. I didn't have anything to come home to. So I was married to the road. I was a road dog. The minute I got married, it started to change a little bit. Luckily, my wife is super supportive of what I do. My wife is wildly independent. She doesn't need me. When I'm home, she's happy I'm home, but she doesn't need me.
She knew I was going to look back.
We always joke that like people always ask like, how do y'all, because we've been together for 15 years now. And people always ask like, how do y'all make y'all's marriage work? And my wife always jokes. She's like, he's gone half the year. That's how it works. He's not here half the year. But once we had a kid, that was because my wife signed up for this. My wife married me knowing full well that I was a touring rock and roll musician and that I wasn't going to be home all the time. I was going to miss stuff. But the minute I had a kid, I realized she didn't get a say in that. She didn't sign up for this. She didn't sign up to be the daughter of a rock and roll musician. So I had to start putting her first. And I'm so proud because we went from 300 shows a year. I'm down to 70 shows a year now. For me, that feels like I'm being lazy. I realize that there's a lot of band out there that one day when they hit 70 shows, they'll feel like that was the busiest year they've ever had. But for me, 70 shows a year just feels like I'm not doing enough. But the 300 days I get at home, man, completely erase that worry. When I'm on the road, I'm like, man, am I playing enough shows? Am I servicing people enough? Am I getting the music out there? Is the career building enough? But those 300 days I'm home, I'm like, man, pump the brakes a little bit. Like, this is fun. And ever since she was born, our shows have went down more and more and more and more. And I'm proud. I've never missed a dance recital. I've never missed a school play. I've never missed anything she needs me for. I've never missed a birthday, anything. If I'm on tour, I fly back. I take every major holiday off. I fly back home. I celebrate her. I get right back on a plane to meet the boys. That kid knows that I would move mountains for her. And that's truly what taught me the balance. Like I said, when my wife married me, we had a long conversation. She knew what I did for a living. She knows what I do. My daughter didn't sign up for it. And so that kid has taught me so much about, I used to be afraid if you took your foot off the gas, the car stops. What the kid has taught me that if you take your foot off your gas, if you built the car right, it's going to keep going. You don't have to keep it floored the whole time. The momentum will keep moving it ahead so that you can appreciate the things that you're like. That's what we're working for, man. We're working for for me, like I work so hard for my family. I work so hard so that my daughter never has to have any of the obstacles that I had in my life. I think that's what every parent does, really. But it's so fun because she taught me, like, Dad, you can take a couple weeks off the road and I promise it won't affect who shows up at the next time. I promise. And it's neat because now it's so many of my fans get to see me be the dad I never thought I'd be able to be. I never thought I'd be able to be a good dad. I always thought I'd be an absent dad. That's what kind of why I didn't want to have a family for a long time. I was like, I'm going to be like the shittiest dad ever, like just on the road. And now it's, 300 days a year, I'm home. And when I'm home 24/7. I'm not the dad that has to go work the 9 to 5. I'm the dad that I'm up making pancakes for breakfast every day. I'm the one that walks my kid to school every day. I'm the one that, her school's like 5 houses down from our house.
Oh, sweet.
So I get to walk her to school every morning. I get to pick her up every day, every afternoon. It's awesome. And then for 70 days a year, I get to go out and be the rock and roller. And that's fun. And she gets to travel with me. Like her and my wife get to come to some of the shows. And she's fully aware of what I do for a living now. She thinks it's so cool. Because
that's what I was curious. Is she like, oh, Dad's a rock star or Dad's dad?
Well, at first she thought that everybody's parents did what I did.
Oh.
And then once she learned that like what Dad does is different. What Dad does is special. Like Dad isn't a lawyer, a doctor, a mechanic, Dad has a very non-traditional occupation. Once she learned that, she takes a lot of pride in that. Because other people be like, well, my dad does this. And it's like, my dad's a rock star. And she thinks that's the coolest thing in the world. And we bring her into this world as much as we can. Like when we have a big festival, we throw it in our hometown of Raleigh, North Carolina. And every year she gets up on stage and introduces all the bands. So she walks out like in her leather jacket and she's got her wireless microphone and she walks out and she's like, up next, Charles Wesley Godwin. And the crowd goes crazy and it's fun. It's neat to watch her be raised in that atmosphere, but also be like raised as like a normal kid. Because when I'm home, I'm not a rock star. When I'm home, I'm just like the lame dad that embarrasses her and tells like really bad jokes. And like, every time her friends come over, she's just like, Dad, oh, that's my dad. And I'm like, I'm doing my job right. If I'm the lame dad, if I can be the lame dad when I'm home, that means the world to me. I just want to be like the boring dad.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, it's but it takes you have to work it. Like I've got plenty of friends in the music business that are terrible parents because they prioritize their job over their family. And I'm lucky that I've never prioritized my job over my kid. I hope that I can say that 10 years from now too. Like, my kid always wins.
Yeah. That was going to be my last question, because business, band, music, projections.
Yeah.
Do you think in terms of projections? And if so, where do you see yourself in the next 5 to 10 years as a artist, band, and a dad?
Man, we are the slow growth band. We're, like I said, we're the long game. I never want my career to be this. Because as soon as you reach the top, there's only one way to go. That's back down. The minute that you reach the climax of your career, then it's just all let down from then on out. Like, why would you want to get there so fast? You got 15 minutes up there, if you're lucky. And then for everything else is going to be chasing that. I'm lucky because my career looks more like this. Every year has been better than the year before it. And that's what I tell the boys. As long as next year's better than this year, and this year's better than last year, we are still trending in the right direction. We have not hit our peak yet. And that's a cool feeling, 20 years in, to know that, like, it's still growing. It's growing a lot slower than some. It's growing slower than some people want it to grow. Me and my circle, so me and my manager and my booking agent, we always joke that silently successful, that's what we want to be. Silently successful. We don't need the billboards. We don't need the millions of Instagram followers. At the end of the day, it's like, am I and the 9 people that work for me making a living in this business? If the answer is yes, and we're making a comfortable living, we're successful. Don't let any other metric tell you otherwise. The fact that none of us have to work jobs, we get to travel around the country comfortably and play music for people that we wrote. Man, that's making it. Silently successful is the goal for our band. It always has been. My booking agent, going back to what we talked about earlier, like the festivals, not getting the festivals, not getting the support gigs. My agent always tells me, keep playing until they can't ignore you. Keep doing it till they can't ignore you. They always come begging. They always come asking. Just keep doing it till they have no other option but to say, you know what? Invite American Aquarium. Can't ignore them anymore. The scrappy underdog is proving themselves.
They keep showing up.
They keep showing up. We're the ones that you tell us no, we'll go away for a year and we come back and we're like, we're bigger. Our numbers are up. We're selling more records. We're selling more tickets. You're going to tell us no again? They tell us no again. We get back to it. We keep coming back to that city twice a year, playing, building. And finally, they're just like, man, the fan polls are in and, you know, everybody keeps requesting this band, like, put them on the stage. And my agent always laughs and it's like, keep playing until they can't ignore you. And that's our 20 years in, it's worked. Silently successful, and just keep hustling until they can't ignore you. And I think, to go back to your question, what do I see for this band? Every band wants to get bigger. Every band wants to be big as they possibly can be. My one rule for it is, I want this band to be as big as we can be without sacrificing who we are. I want this band to get as big as possible without having to give up publishing, without having to give up masters, without having to sign to a major label, without having to change our image or let somebody else write songs or have a producer completely come in and overhaul what we do or play with live tracks. As long as we get to keep up every morning and making the music we want to make, I hope the sky's the limit. I hope it gets as big as it can possibly get. But the minute somebody says, to get this big, you have to give this up, I'll stay where I'm at. Because I'm at a point now where if it never gets bigger than this, me and 9 other people make a living. Like we've won the game. Like so many people keep looking at the next step. And if it comes, awesome. If it comes to me, I can't wait to play the the 1,000 person or the 2,000 or the 3,000 person rooms. But right now, every night we show up, there's 500 kids in a room, and we play them our songs. We sell them some T-shirts. We shake their hands, and we go to the next city. I've played in 23 countries. I've played in 48 states. I've made it. And I'm thankful that I never had to give up anything I really believed in, fundamentally believed in, to make it this far. And once you make it this far without giving up anything, there's this thing in the back of your head. It's like, why would you give up anything? It might take me an extra 5 years to get to that next step. But if I've proven anything in 20, I don't mind waiting. I can wait out anybody. I can just keep, because during that 5 years, I'm not going to stop moving my legs. I'm going to keep my head down, keep my legs moving, and I'm going to get there eventually. Like, the worst thing you could ever tell me is I can't do something. Don't ever tell me I can't do something. I've had so many promoters, y'all aren't good enough. You can't play this thing. Give me 5 years. Watch this. Hold my beer kind of thing. And
yeah, I love that.
It's, I hope that the band just keeps growing in a really cool, creative way. I hope that we all love it as much as we do now. I always tell the boys, I'm like, the minute you don't want to get on that stage and give it 120%, get out, man. Like, there's no room here for people there's no mailing it in for me. Because every night I get to stand on that stage, just like the first time I got to stand on stage. You'll see it tonight. Like, I throw everything I have into the show. And then I got 22 and a half hours to rest. And then I'll do it all over again. And it's still just for fun. It's just as fun for me 20 years into it as it was the first time I stood on stage with butterflies in my stomach. Mm-hmm. And as long as I don't lose that, man, I'm winning, man. I feel pretty good about it.
Yeah, not a lot of people can say that about their careers. And I think what you've done and kind of the grassroots approach to building something is it's inspirational, and it's also thought-provoking in a society that isn't, again, based on, we're always looking for that immediate gratification and comparison and all that. And so the fact that you've done something that is pretty left of center in terms of how a career is built in the music business specifically
for
now
sure
is really something that I think is cool, man. It's just cool. And it's inspiring, I think, to people to want to take a step towards independence and realizing, oh, I'm the one in control here. Like, this is my thing, versus I'm going to give up who I am for something.
Yeah.
So you're really playing the long game. And I think it's insightful. However you figured it out young and where you're at now, like, I think the idea of playing the long game and having the intention of, like, the one fan. Like, for me, this podcast, it's about making a friend. And if I reach one person, they get value from it, then it was a win.
Hell yeah.
And that's where I have to keep my mind versus, like, who's listening right now, right? Yeah. Or, like, how can I do this? Or what's my fastest way to growth? Because it's really easy to start getting in that cycle of thinking when you're like, maybe I could cut a corner here and I could do that. You know what I'm saying?
The shortcuts are what hurt you.
Yeah, dude. So I've enjoyed just personally hearing what you have to say, because you have so much knowledge and data from 20 years of being on the road and leading a band. So thank you for showing up and being here on this podcast.
And thanks for having me.
Yeah, dude. And I'm stoked to see you tonight. We're trying to lock in the babysitter. So
heck yeah.
We'll be seeing you. And yeah, it's been really cool. I'm glad we finally, because we've been talking for, I feel like, months. So it's cool to finally.
Yeah, I'm glad it finally worked. I'm glad I'm finally in Nashville, or close enough to Nashville to come do this. But yeah, the hard way is usually the right way. And I think anybody that does it the right or the hard way it's far more rewarding in the end. And yeah, 20 years in, yeah, still kicking, still enjoying it, still loving it. So I appreciate you letting me come and tell my story and talk about it.
Yeah, man. Thank you, man.
Appreciate you.